Hi, thanks for joining me. And as always, I've got smoke coming up and smoke coming out of my mouth. And yep, that's me making a video. I have to have a cigarette. I think it's just nerves. So, what I thought, just like this title says, being that we're coming up to Hallows Eve, Halloween, I thought maybe I would share what some might think are a couple of scary videos and a couple of scary, like I said, some people might view it, if they were to experience it, scary, and what to do with it, because the impression would stay with you for a long, long, long time. And I know this because from what I experienced, it began as a child. It's taken me a lot of years to adapt and to call it a norm, my norm. By and by, I'm digging, and this is the vibe. Okay, so this video, I could say, leave a comment and tell me what you think. Is it true or not true? I'll tell you ahead of time, yeah, it's very true. And this has a sequel, and so look for part two. And I will just call this The Reaper. How about we do that? We'll call it The Reaper. I'll call it The Reaper. Okay, so I guess this would have been about 29 years ago, or 20, in between 25 and 29 years ago. One of my sons was 7 at that time, 6 or 7 at that time. And I was living in a townhouse, and upstairs, my boys slept, and I slept a very short hallway right across their bedroom. But on this evening, I was just so exhausted, and they just wouldn't go to sleep. And so I thought, okay, if I just chill out downstairs and I'm as quiet as a mouse, they will eventually settle down and go to sleep. I gather the time was about 10:30 at night. And I had only the light above the stove that was on, and all the other lights were turned off. And lo and behold, I was just, like I said, relaxing my mind, some downtime. It's been a day and a half, busy, 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 busy. And so rather than sitting and doing something, or getting up and doing something, or sitting down reading, I ended up dozing off, and which was just as well, because I was exhausted. I never made it to bed. I fell asleep on my couch. I don't know how long I was out. I don't know how long before before this incident happened. I don't know how long. All of a sudden, I woke up to sleeping on my right side, and my face was facing the back of the couch, and where I and the couch was up against a wall. And on this side here, I had a balcony, and I've always been a plant lover. I had one particular yucca tree. It was just beautiful. Plants just grow for me. I love them, and they love me, and they grow, 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 grow. which is actually kind of odd because we're, in October and it's getting chilly, and I still have tomatoes that are blooming, and my petunias are still blooming. And like I said, I love plants and they love me. So anyway, what woke me up was in that time frame. So this would have been in the 80s. I really liked a song by Robert Palmer. And the song was called Simply Irresistible. You should check it out. That's a good tune. Even, the 80s, they make good music. So I woke up to hearing Simply Irresistible. And I thought, what the heck? I thought somebody, you're kind of in and you're kind of out. You're in that in between of being asleep and waking up. So my mind was still, just jumping about and arguing with itself. Go to sleep. No, 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 pay attention. Go to sleep. No, 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 pay attention. And I thought I didn't have that CD in my CD player. I didn't have that in there. And I recalled that I did not have it in there. And so I thought to myself, I got to be dreaming, because I did not recall putting it into the CD player. And I think at that time, I think, you were able to put like 6 CDs or 8 CDs. Mine was 6. And as the CD finished, it would just move on over and the other CD would begin. But I didn't have it on. I didn't even have my stereo on. Nada. Like I said, I wanted to keep it really, really quiet, because my sons had been so rambunctious, and boys will be boys. I thought to myself, okay, like, I can't even talk to a girlfriend next door, without them hearing my voice and then thinking, hey, you know what? Mom's still up, we can, continue to play. And they would run up and down the stairs, and I thought, no, can't even do that. And I believe I took the phone off the hook in fear that it would ring from my girlfriend next door. And I thought, oh, I just really, really, really need to sleep. And I thought, okay, I'm hearing things. And I dozed back off. Again, I don't know how long it was. The song came back on. Simply Irresistible. But this time it was louder. And I started calling my girlfriend. I had 2 girlfriends that, we were like sisters. So them just walking, one of them had the key. Instead of, they would just walk in, and it was the norm, because we were all really that close. We still are. One of them anyway. The other, we still are close, but we haven't seen each other for years. But when we get together, it is a gab fest. So I thought to myself, okay, it's one of the 2 that had walked in, and they've got to be playing a joke. And if I didn't respond, if I didn't move, the one would either go to bed, or the other would, walk out the door. Her door was, we were in townhouses, her door was right next door, and it would be, okay, well, Diggins out for the night. And so I thought one of them. And so I said out loud, okay, I heard you. I don't think it's funny. The boys are sleeping, and I'm sleeping. I dozed off again. I didn't hear anything. I dozed off again, and I thought, okay, she's got to be tiptoeing. And as I had woken back up, as I was waking back up, thinking, and I remember asking, why are you doing this? You know the kids are sleeping. You can see I'm sleeping. Go sleep in my bed, is what I told her, because I thought, like I said, it's one or the other. And the one would have gone to bed, sleep in my bed, and the other just would have gone home. And so at that point there, again, I don't know how long I dozed off again. And I was woken up by the tap running. And I could hear this water from the kitchen, and it was running and running and running and running. And I just went, oh, okay, like, am I not supposed to sleep? You know, and I was starting to get a little annoyed. Now, I listened, and I didn't hear a boo upstairs, not even a peep. So I know that my two sons had fallen asleep, and I was really worried by the commotion in the home that they would wake up. And so I thought to myself, okay, you know what, turn the water off, you know, making a tea, getting a glass of, you know, making sure the water's cold, I guess. And all of a sudden it stopped, because I said, hey, look, turn it off. It stopped. Frustrated, you know, disgruntled, I dozed off again. I was really, really, really tired. Again, I was disturbed, and I was woken. And as I'm laying there in frustration, going, okay, this is ridiculous. You know, I was getting a bit upset. And I thought, I can't say anything right now, because I don't know exactly when the boys fell asleep, but I didn't want them waking up, because then I know I'd be pulling an all-nighter, and I just couldn't do that. I could not afford that. And so, but rather than looking around and sitting up, I just kept my face toward the couch. And I thought to myself, what the heck? You know, I mean, sometimes I wake up in my sleep, but I mean, by this time it was like 4 or 5 times. This last time, I could hear the plant, and it was shaking, like literally shaking. You could hear the plant, the leaves on the plant shaking. And I thought, okay, this is not even funny. And the moment I said that, the shaking continued, and Robert Palmer, back on the stereo, Simply Irresistible. Well, I was peeved at that point. I was irritated at that point. I thought, okay, that's really rude. I wouldn't do that to you. And as I flipped over and turned around, there was nobody there. So I thought, there was nobody there. And I looked, and I'm like, what the hell? And I looked at the tree, and at that point, it wasn't shaking. The music was still on, but it turned, I would like to say itself, turned down to a minimal, so it was faintly playing in the background. And I was, at this point facing the living room. I flipped over to my left side, and I thought, what the hell is going on here? What kind of a night is this? When all of a suddenly, and it was dark. The only, the light above the stove was on, and, it was very dim. We'll say that. It was very dim because I could still see my furniture and everything else like this. So it wasn't complete black. But what was black was this figure that all of a sudden appeared for what seemed to be smoke, fog. And I was like, did I fall asleep with a cigarette? What the hell is going on here? Is this like fire? What? And so, I started to rub my eyes, and I was really trying to focus, going, what the hell is this? When all of a sudden, what appeared in front of me looked like a fryer. And I thought, what? I must be dreaming. This guy looks like a, and I shouldn't say guy, but I thought this person looked like a priest. Now, I could only see a silhouette. at that point. I could not see the individual. And a long cloak and a hooded, it was part of the cloak. It was hooded, and the hood was up. And I'm like, okay, you know what? This night is just bonkers. I wish I had sleeping pills at that time. I just thought I got to be dreaming. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm just going to write everything down, because all of this, all the waking up, all the times I was disturbed, it has to be a dream. And I said, who are you? Who are you? What are you doing in my home? Now, where this fog materialized, I guess I would say, standing right in front. Like I said, I'm laying to my left, so it would be, he was right in front, but it would be from my waist to my knee, in that area there. So he wasn't, up. I mean, he was close and he was up front, but not in my face, kind of thing. And I'm looking and I'm going, hey, wait a second, because I kept saying, who are you? Who are you? At least if you're in my home, let me see your face. And this fog ended up going backward and then came forward again. And as this fog, this silhouette at that point, came forward, I heard myself saying, hey, wait a second, I know you. Wait a second, where do I know you from? Wait, I know you. The silhouette ended up materializing to the point that I had seen the face. I had seen the body. And it had the most piercing blue eyes I had ever seen. I mean, blue, 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 blue. It was enough to take your breath away. And his face was handsome. Really, really, really handsome. And I went, out loud, because at this point I wasn't deciphering whether this was in a dream or not. I went into shock. And I kept saying, I know you. Wait, I know you. And as I said, I know you, well, let's say, as far as I was concerned, shit was about to hit the fan. It changed. I saw this beautiful face, this beautiful appearance of a person that looked like he was wearing a priest's dress, or he was definitely caped anyway. And this face and the blue eyes faded. And so did his face. Now, what I mean by faded, those beautiful, stunning blue eyes, they were turning black. And I started gasping, really, because at that point I was like, okay, what the hell here? This is, turning into a nightmare. And so I did say, like, WGF, like, what the hell? And I'm still stunned, speechless, and he was staring at me. And I was trying to make heads or tails here. Was I awake? Wasn't I awake? What the hell? And as his eyes were fading and turning black, that beautiful, handsome face started to draw itself out. It was sinking and sinking and sinking and sinking. And it was turning into a skeleton. And at the point where I gasped again was all the skin was hanging on these bones, and the skin was not falling off, but just fading, like disappearing. and I freaked. Now, I didn't freak as in jump up, scream, start running, so on and so forth. Reason why, the boys were at the forefront of my mind. I needed to sleep. I did not need them to wake up, because then it would be me pulling an all-nighter, and no can do. No can do. Ran a tight ship, I guess. I repeated myself. I said, I know who you are. And this being went from a beautiful sight. I mean, we're talking about beautiful. If you've ever truly seen beauty, illuminated, like I said, the bluest eyes, that you couldn't even imagine how blue it was. You couldn't even imagine how luminous this being was, until its appearance. Now, I did have the understanding that at that point, what I was looking at was the same individual. So that beautiful, luminous being started to change, started to lose itself, lose its shine. Like I said, the bluest eyes, and they were turning black. That full face. Really old art, like the statue of David. Beautiful. Well, this person, the beauty of this being, was so breathtaking. I know this for a fact. Other people would have said the exact same thing. I said, "What are you doing here? You don't belong here. I know who you are. Now I've seen the real truth as to what you do look like. What the hell are you doing here, and what do you want?" To my shock, I looked away for a second, because I had to think, what is the right word that would describe the answer that I was given. And I said, "What do you want? Tell me what you're doing here. I know exactly who you are. You're not welcome here. Nobody called you here. You've got no business being here." He said, "Yes, I do." I said, "You do what?" "I have business here. I'm entitled to be here." I said, "No, you're not. No, nobody invited you here. So what the hell are you doing here? Get the hell out of my home. I know who you are now, and this is a no can do. There's no, getting out of jail card here. You're busted, buddy." And I'm going to say buddy, are obviously being sarcastic, because it wasn't human. But I called it buddy all the same. And he said, "I'm here for your son." I said, "What?" "I'm here for your son." I said, "Oh hell, no you're not." And the son he spoke of was my second born. Now, he was very authoritative. And he was at that point stern, aggressive, and felt entitled, and there was going to be no stopping him. That's the vibe I got from him. And I'm going to say him, H-I-M, him. And I said, "Oh, no, you're not." I saw that fog, that fog, and the transformation happened just like one of those Dracula movies. He's there, Dracula, and then all of a suddenly he transforms into this bat. Now, this being didn't transform into a bat, but he transformed enough that he was gliding, literally gliding. And I just lost it at that point. I mean, I literally freaked. What I did, and I had a girlfriend tell me this not too long ago, and her and I, we go banter back and forth. I said, no, I didn't. She said, yeah, you did. I said, no, I didn't. She says, yeah, you did. I saw it with my own eyes. And I don't like exposure. We'll just say that, and I'll get to that in one of my videos. Actually, it's close to Halloween, so in one of my videos in the next 2 weeks, I'll have it in there. And man, I'll tell you, right then and there, my spirit, my soul, I was up, and it was on. He floated, went around the corner, went all the way up the stairs. I floated, went around the corner, went up the stairs, and we battled. We battled at that point, because you're not taking my kid. You are not taking my child. Neither one of them. Neither one. Period. And he was insistent. Yes, I am. I am here for him. And I said, no, not happening. Now, we'll say that my son, I was standing when I got there. I was out of body. Okay, I'm a jumper. I can jump time, is what happens. Some people say time traveler, whichever. I was born with certain gifts, and so I was I was with my back facing my bedroom window, and he was on the side of the door, and in between us was my little boy, and he was between the age 5, 6, or 7, in between that time frame. And he was calling him, come here, come here, come here, and offered this and offered. He was luring him, and I kept calling my son and calling my son. Come to mommy, come to mommy, come to mommy. Don't listen to that person. He's a bad man. Come to mommy, come to mommy. And as much as I stressed, come to mommy, the pull that was happening, and the influence that being had, my son was just about there. So 2 to 3 steps, I would have lost my son to who we know as death, as the Reaper. And I just thought, what am I going to do to get his attention, my son's attention? What am I going to do? And what I did do, because I was fretful, I was in the spirit, I was in my soul, my mind was entangled in anxiety, worry, the 3 that make one man, and I'll explain that in another video as well. And it's probably good time that I do this, because I've been thinking about putting together courses and helping people liberate from the conditioning of this world. Believe you me, you do find an inner peace. But anyway, and he was luring my son. And I thought, that is just, that's evil. You're evil, because I didn't have tools. I couldn't give him candy. I couldn't entice him in any way, shape, or form. And I thought, Lord, what am I going to do? I called the Lord, I called our Holy Mother, I called our Holy Father, and I'm going, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? All of a sudden, it came to mind. I spoke to him in Italian. That's my first tongue. My native tongue is Italian. And so at that point, I said, stop, figlio. Vieni a mamma, vieni a mamma. Vieni a mamma, vieni. And my son stopped. He turned around, and he ran to me, into my arms. I grabbed him, I hugged him, and I had said to the Reaper, now get that, meet me out of here. You're not welcome here. You are not taking my son. He got so angry, so angry. Our townhouse shook, but it shook so much that there was like what, 5 to 6 homes in one row. The whole row shook. He was so angry, and he said to me, I'll be back. I'll be back for him. I'll be back. And I said, and I'll be waiting, and I'll be ready. Period. He is my son. You're not taking him. And at that point, in fury, having made a threat, I'll be back, I thought, Regiment Steph, you take that and you put that where the sun doesn't shine. And I really hope it hurts. I really hope it hurts. Poof, he was gone. That was upsetting. That was really, really, really upsetting. I mean, I was just, what the, me. Next thing I knew, my son was in bed. I was downstairs, back on the couch, and it was like, I perspired so much, it was as if I walked out of the shower, soaking wet, no towel, I was just dripping in perspiration from all that I had experienced. The sad thing, I'm going to wrap this up, the sad thing, the very, very, very sad thing, 7 to 8 years later, he was back. 7 to 8 years later, I could not believe it. I was out of town. I was doing a fair because I was born a seer, and so I would do readings. I would counsel people as well. And I was working. And I'll end it with this. All of a sudden, there was me and this girl bunked together, and one of the other readers knocked on the door for her, and we were all sitting around chit-chatting, talking. Her and I shared a motel room, or we were at, no, it was a hotel at that fair. Actually, we were in a city called Calgary, and in Canada. And I said, I don't know where, did both of you hear that? They're like, no. I said, look, I heard that. I heard a knock on the door. I heard that. And they are like, okay, Diggin, you know what? Maybe you're just overtired. It's been a long day. And I said, no, I heard that knock. And then I had seen, as I was looking at the door, I had seen that black fog. And I said, oh dear God, you meant what you said. You're back. I don't remember falling asleep. I only remember waking up, screaming and saying, you give me my son back. He's mine. And I declared it in the name of Christ. I declared it in the name of our Savior. I declared it in the name of our holy parents. This is my kid. You take your dirty, stinking claws off of him. He belongs to me. I was screaming this as I woke up. She wakes up. She's going, wake up, wake up, wake up. You're screaming, wake up. And she said, like, are you smoking anything funny? Like seriously, what is that shit? You want to share? And I hadn't smoked anything. They did. I just, no thanks. And I said, something happened years ago, and the Reaper came for a visit, and I told it to hit the road, and don't bother me, don't bother us anymore. And she said, you were screaming about your son. And I said, okay. And what that told me was I was in that state, okay, in between being awake and being asleep. I was in that state enough that I had screamed so loud and demanding that he take a flying you-know-what and take his dirty claws off my son. His body, his spirit, his soul belonged to me, belonged to God, belonged to our Holy Mother, and most belonged to our Savior. Our brother from another mother. Actually, no. Our brother from the original mother. And I'm talking about Jesus. Jesus. And so at that point, I just, I fell back asleep, but I was up and down, awake, sleeping, because my mind and my heart and my worries and my concerns, I had all these different, thoughts in my head. At that time, he was 14 years old. And so I had made a coffee. I couldn't go back to sleep. I knew I couldn't go back to sleep. And I said, hey, do you want a coffee? And I made her a coffee as well, because I was pouring myself one. And we were sitting there talking, and she said, you actually believe in God? Like, you actually read the Bible? I said, where do your gifts come from? Where do you think it comes from? We're made up that way. Each and every one of us still have a foot in heaven. I chose to learn. I really didn't have a choice. Well, actually, I did have a choice. I realized I made my choice, but at that particular time, and I said, well, yeah, this is where our gifts come from. We're made in the image of God. And so, as much as we want to say we are physical, yeah, we're physical here, but it's borrowed time. This is supposed to be vacation. This is supposed to be play and to experience. And these experiences are to enrichen, is that the word? Probably not. To enrich our beings, because we're spirits. That's the way it is. We're souls. She was dumbfounded, like literally dumbfounded, that I actually read the Bible and that I have a belief in God. Another reader, and I'll talk about that. That's another fair, and that fair I was in Kamloops, British Columbia, and we drove into Kamloops, and certain people were put in their place by one of their own. Anyway. I did say, hey, look, the Reaper is here, and I've got an issue. We've got this going. I didn't want to tell her too much, because she got scared. Like, I freaked her right the hell out. And I thought to myself, well, I knew, one, you weren't psychic, and two, the things that you say, you're a scam artist. You're just here ripping people off. And I just, fly right or don't fly at all. Plain and simple. I thought she was lucky that I agreed sharing a room with her. I did for a few times, which I've always regretted it. I mean, always. One way or another, I've always regretted it. But this particular day, I said, look, there's something really wrong. Really, really, really wrong. I think I'm going to call home and see where my son is, because he presented himself. He did. She got so scared because it was a 48-hour period. On the 48-hour, I did call home, and my daughter picked up the phone, and she said she's home by herself. I thought, what? What? I don't know where my brothers are, and I'm like, what? Put Daddy on the phone. I don't know where Daddy is. What do you mean you don't know where he is? He's upstairs. And we have a computer room up there. And so, I mean, she thought it was a prank. She thought she was being funny. I had the fear of God put in me. And my partner had said, it's weird that you phoned. My son didn't come home last night, and he was 14 years old, and I instantly went, oh dear God, no. He said, hey, look, he's a young teenager. They grow out of things like this, and no big deal. I was reassured for a moment. That very night, that's when she got spooked, her friend got spooked, when they heard the knocking, and then they too saw the fog. I'd never seen two people so scared in their entire life. And that's when I ended up screaming. And so when I was asleep, I ended up screaming. It was that day that I phoned home, the morning I phoned home. And I said, I'm coming home. I know there's something terribly wrong. I'm coming home. And as I was packing up to leave and whatnot, I did call home again, and I didn't get there on time per se to change the path, to change that was about to happen. And I could hear in his tone, I just asked, is he still alive? And there was silence on the other end of the phone, and I knew that he knew I knew. I said, I'll be there quick, the first bus, I'm out of here. And that's what I did end up doing. I got back into town at about 6 in the morning, and I asked him again, is he still alive? He said yes, but he's not in a good place. Meaning, it was a real touch and go. He was in ICU. And I didn't even go home. I went from there, and then we both went to the hospital, and that's a whole other story. But that SOB, that Reaper, is very, 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 very real. So if you play, certain games, and because there's a lot of games like that where there's a lot of invoking, and people are like, oh, wait, it's not real, we're just playing for fun, da 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 da. Heads up, very real, very, very, very real. So you tell me, do you think this is scary? Do you think it's appropriate to share this experience? And I decided to, because Halloween, Hallows Eve, is on its way. Tell me what you think. Leave a message down below. I'll read all the messages, and ask away. Ask any questions, and I'll be talking to you soon. So we'll see you later. Give me a thumbs up, share. I'd really like to get this particular channel going. I haven't dedicated as much time as I did in the beginning, because so much has happened. And as of late, I think I mentioned it in one of my videos, after being hit by the car and all the injuries, I've got vertigo. And the past 6 weeks, and just the other night, I felt twice, and really, really hurt myself. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I really needed to kick back because of all the aches and pains, and I'm going, man. So I'm, glad that I'm okay. Tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe. That's not going to hurt. And I guess I will talk at you later if I forgot anything at all. Like I say, give me one of these. Don't give me one of these. And talk to you soon. Ciao, amore. Ciao, ciao. Ciao. Where'd you go? Here you are.